Welcome to Comeback Class, a podcast that'll teach you how to turn your breakup into the best thing that ever happened to you. And now your host, Lauren Lewis.
Welcome back to Comeback Class. I am so glad to have you here. This week is going to be part 2 of our 2-part series on toxic relationships. So last week we talked about the signs of a toxic relationship, what it looks like, and now we're going to talk about how to get out of a toxic relationship and the different strategies and approaches that you can take. Now, before we get into it, I want to answer a question that was asked to me about toxic relationships. And that is, can they be fixed? So can a toxic relationship be fixed? Sure, it could. Do I think in most cases that they should? Probably not. And I'm going to tell you why. If a relationship has already gotten to the point where it has spiraled down into this place of being what we would consider toxic, it would take a lot of deep work in order for it to be repaired. And that would include typically the help of a counselor or a mental health professional. But that is not the hard part. The hard part would be that these two people need to be fully 100% committed to repairing the relationship and working on themselves separately as individuals as well as coming together collectively. This requires both people to understand that there is a problem and each of them is willing to fix the problem. Now, for someone who is manipulative or controlling, it's very likely that they are not going to have the self-awareness to recognize that they do exhibit these behaviors. And they're probably going to say something like, well, I don't need therapy, or I'm not the problem, you're the problem. See, so it's going to be very difficult for both people to be on the same page about this. And I feel like a lot of people stay in these types of relationships for a couple of reasons. One of which is that they are simply afraid of ending it because they don't want to be alone, or they cling onto this hope that things will just repair themselves. And they might think eventually, one day, when this happens or when that happens, things will get better. And sometimes the sad reality is that people spend years or decades thinking that this relationship is going to get better, and it just never does. So you have to do some self-reflection and really just look at the relationship and ask yourself, if this were not to get better, do I want to live like this for the rest of my life? Now, the person who asked me this question also stated that if there are kids involved, they should at least try. Now, I have a very strong opinion on this, and some people might not agree, but that's okay. I'm going to say it because it is what I feel in my heart to be true. And that is, if you are in a toxic, unhealthy relationship or marriage, and you are concerned about your children and thinking that you need to keep the relationship together for the sake of the children, I want to offer this to you. Do you think it is better for a child to grow up in a toxic, abusive, dysfunctional household as opposed to having to split their time between mom's house and dad's house? Now, I will say that I'm not a parent. I do believe that people should do whatever they feel is best for their own family, their own children. This is simply my opinion. However, as a child of divorced parents, I can tell you that I am fine. I am stable, I am healthy and happy, and everything turned out fine. And you know what? I'm actually grateful that my parents chose to end their relationship when they did, because things probably would have been a lot different, possibly a lot worse, had they stayed in that dysfunctional relationship and we had to live in this toxic, uncomfortable, dysfunctional household. The things that we observe and we learn during childhood have a huge effect on who we become as adults. And many of the issues that adults face today are rooted in their childhood experiences and their childhood traumas. So I just want you to remember that and take that into account if this is something that you are struggling with right now. Now, if you have made the decision or the realization that you are in fact in a toxic relationship and you know you need to end it, but you just don't know how, I want to give you some ideas and some ways that you can get out of it. The first thing I would suggest is that you plan out what you are going to say ahead of time. So figure out what your feelings are, what your concerns are, so that you can verbalize it to this person, and you can do it in a way that is clear and in as calm of a manner as you possibly can. So waiting until another blowout fight happens to do this is not the best approach. I would plan what you're going to say ahead of time and then present it to them. Next, you need to set boundaries and stick to them. So if you tell yourself, I am breaking up with this person, I do not want to be in contact with them, you need to eliminate the lines of communication. So that might mean blocking their phone number, blocking them on social media, whatever you have to do so that you will not contact this person and they will not contact you. Now, this is something that I did when I ended my toxic relationship with a narcissistic partner. I knew that he would try to change my mind or try to manipulate me in some way, and I just knew that I had to close the door then and there. So I did break up with him via text message, which normally I wouldn't suggest. If you had a nice, healthy relationship and you just decide to break up with someone, then I wouldn't do it this way. But in this case, I had to get it done. It just had to be done. And the reason for this is because I knew that there was going to be resistance and pushback. So if you know that you're going to get a similar response, then you need to have a plan in place for how you're going to handle it. And in my case, the way that I was handling it was I need to cut off communication. I don't want him to talk to me. I don't want to talk to him. Block, delete, goodbye. So what I don't want you to do is to give this person the opportunity to manipulate you, especially if that's something that they've already been doing. Do not let them manipulate you into taking back your decision to break up with them. The best way to do this is simply just to cut off contact and do not give them access to you. Now, the next step, and this goes hand in hand with breaking off contact, includes physically separating yourself from this person. So if you live together, then one of you needs to move out. And the longer it takes for you to physically separate yourself from them, the more opportunities there are for them to manipulate you into staying. Ideally, like I said, you will have a plan ahead of time for how you are going to handle this. You are going to know exactly what you're going to say. You're going to have a plan for how and when you're going to physically leave or move out and where you're going to go. Because how many times have you heard of situations like this and the person that is the dumpee, so to speak, says, I promise I will change. I promise I will do this. I will do that, etc., etc. And maybe this is something that they have said multiple times and nothing has changed. So if this sounds like something that you have been dealing with where this person has said to you more than once that they promise they will change their behavior, I want you to ask yourself how much time you are willing to waste waiting for this person to change their behavior. When I promise you, and I know you may not believe me right now, but I promise you that there is someone out there who you can have a healthy, happy relationship with, where you are not fighting all the time. They don't make you feel bad about yourself or make you feel like you have to walk on eggshells when you are around them. That is not what a relationship is supposed to be. So if you have been stuck in this situation for what feels like forever, and you keep waiting for this person to change, just really ask yourself, how much time am I willing to waste waiting? Now, anytime you end a relationship, whether it was a good relationship or it was a really bad relationship, either way, it's going to be difficult, right? So you need to have support. Look for friends and family who are going to encourage you and be there for you and understand what you're going through. In addition to that, I want you to really consider seeking professional help, such as therapy or counseling. There are trained professionals out there who are there to help you get through difficult situations like this, and it will provide you with a safe space to really take a deep dive into your feelings. And if you feel like this could be a pattern for you where you seem to end up in these types of relationships, it might help you identify the reasons why this keeps happening. And like I mentioned before, a lot of the difficulties that we face in adulthood when it comes to relationships are somehow rooted in our childhood experiences. So if you grew up in a household where your parents had a very dysfunctional, unhealthy, or abusive relationship, you may, as an adult, subconsciously think that that is normal and that's what a relationship looks like. If you've never been in a healthy relationship, it could be simply because you never saw one and you don't have anything to reference to. Now, that doesn't mean that you are permanently damaged or that you will never be able to be in a healthy, loving relationship, but it just means that you have to do a little bit more work to figure out what that looks like for you and how you can figure out what is healthy and what is unhealthy. So if you've never sought out therapy before, or you don't really know what it involves, or you feel like it may mean something about you, like there's something wrong with you, if you have to go to therapy, I want you to know that taking care of your mental and emotional well-being is just as important as taking care of your physical health. I have gone to therapy at different times throughout my life, and I currently see a therapist. And it is one of the most helpful ways I have found to really just keep myself grounded and just to have a listening ear so that I can verbalize my thoughts and have someone listen to me without judgment, but to also give me encouragement. So if it's something you're considering trying, I would highly, highly recommend it, especially in a situation such as this. Honestly, you have nothing to lose and so much to gain. This leads me to my next suggestion, which is to focus on self-care and self-improvement. Now, if you're familiar with my message, maybe you follow me on social media or you have taken my course, then you will know I am a huge advocate for using personal growth as a means to move on from a relationship or breakup. So often we become consumed with our partner's wants and needs that we can neglect our own. And believe it or not, a breakup, in my opinion, is one of the best times to start your personal growth journey. And that is because your time is completely your own. It really allows you to take a step back and to look at your life and ask yourself, am I going in the direction that I want to go? And if not, why is that? And what can I do right now to push me in the right direction? What can I do right now to move the needle forward? So ask yourself what your goals and your hopes and your dreams are. Some people may not even know these things because they never take the time to ask themselves. So take the time now to figure out and decide what it is that you truly want. When you start this process and start making goals for yourself and figuring out what it is that you want to achieve, that is going to help you have something to look forward to, and it's going to make this time easier, which I truly believe is the best way to move on from a breakup, to move on from a toxic relationship or any relationship that it was just time for it to end. Now, the time is here for you to focus on yourself. So if you're ready to take that next step, I want you to check out Heartbreak Hero. It's a course that I made to help you close the chapter on your current relationship, figure out how to create your ideal self, and then also how to find your ideal partner. You can find all the information about it on my website. It's theheartbreaknurse.com. I'm so incredibly proud of that course, and I feel like it is going to be such a helpful tool for you to not only heal from your breakup, but to really discover who you truly are and what it is that you truly want. And it's going to motivate you so much to really go after the life of your dreams. So if that is something that you really want, go check it out, theheartbreaknurse.com. All the information is there for you. It's going to be so important for you to find tools that will help you through this process, because I want you to remember this is a process. Getting over a toxic relationship is not going to happen overnight. Unfortunately, as much as we wish we could try to erase it from our memory and never have to think about it again, it is a process, so understand that. But remember that you don't have to be miserable during this time. You can focus on yourself, you can do things that bring you joy and peace, and over time things will get easier. But I will tell you this. When I ended the toxic relationship that I was in, I started to feel better very, very quickly because it felt like I had been drowning and I was finally able to come up for air. Once you feel that peace and that sense of calm, you will realize why doing this and ending this relationship was so necessary. I need you to trust your gut on this and remember that you deserve to be in a healthy, happy relationship. And it may be hard because you do love this person, and that's not a fault of yours. It's not your fault for loving someone and caring about them and maybe loving them so much that you just want them to change. But you have to recognize when something is beyond your control, right? And I've talked about this before. We are in control of our own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. We are not in control of other people's. So you can love someone until the cows come home, but if they are not willing to recognize their own toxic behaviors or their own unhealthy behaviors, then there is nothing you are going to be able to do to change that. I need you to understand that. There is an amazing book that I read when I was going through a breakup, and it's called Women Who Love Too Much, and it's by Robin Norwood. And what she says in it is, if being in love means being in pain, then you are loving too much. Many of us think that if we just love someone enough that they can change, and this book helped me realize that that's just not the way it works. It's really, really a great read, so I'm going to link to it in the show notes for you. I highly recommend it, especially if you are going through a breakup with someone that maybe has addiction issues or something like that. It was super, super helpful for me and made me realize that there are certain things that we have control over and certain things that we don't. And in some cases, when there is a situation that you cannot change because it involves another person changing, then it may be time to end it. I know that breakups are difficult regardless of the circumstance, whether you had a nice relationship and you just realize it wasn't the right fit, or if you are in a toxic relationship that is unhealthy and you know it's time to close the chapter. I want you to know that I'm here for you. I am here to answer your questions. If you have a question that you would like answered on the show, anonymously, of course, you can send an email to hello@theheartbreaknurse.com. and I will answer it for you to the best of my ability. So if you got something on your mind, just shoot me an email. Again, it's hello@theheartbreaknurse.com. So just to recap, if you're ready to end your toxic relationship, if you are ready to start healing and living your new life, I want you to do the following things. You are going to communicate your feelings and concerns to this person in a calm and clear manner. I want you to set boundaries and stick to them. I also want you to seek support, both from friends and family, and then also seriously consider seeking professional help for this situation. If necessary, you need to take the steps to physically separate yourself from this person as well. So if you're living together, one of you has to move out. Now, ideally, this is something that you will have planned for ahead of time. But if not, and you are in a situation where you are living with this person, but you don't want to be near them because you are trying to break up with them because your relationship is toxic, then you need to find a safe place that you can go and get away from them. Especially if you are in a situation that is verbally and or physically abusive. It's going to be imperative that you find somewhere safe to go, whether that be with a friend or a family member or even a local shelter. If you are in a domestic violence situation, there is a number that you can call, and that is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It is 1-800-799-7233. Again, that number is 1-800-799-7233. Or you can text the word START to 88788. That's START to 88788, and that will help connect you with someone who can get you the resources that you need and get them quickly. It is important that you are prepared to handle possible resistance or pushback from this person. So you need to make sure that if you're going to set a boundary of no contact, that you stick to it and you cut off access that this person has to you. Again, remember that this process takes time. And it can also take the help of other people. So realize that you don't have to do this alone. If you have a feeling in your gut that this relationship is not healthy, it's not safe, it's toxic, what have you, I need you to trust that feeling and remember that you deserve to be in a healthy, happy relationship. And it is 100% possible for you. But in order to get there, you need to end the relationship that you're currently in. As much as you feel like you cannot do this, I promise you, you can. And in some instances, you absolutely have to. A bright, happy, healthy future is 100% available to you, but I need you to take action. As always, I want to thank you for being a listener and for letting me help you and guide you through this process. And with that, I will see you next week. Are you ready and determined to make this next season of your life the best season of your life? I believe that any person who is willing to invest in their personal growth has the ability to accomplish anything. And I want to give you the tools to make that happen. That's why I created Heartbreak Hero. It's my premier program designed to help high-value people just like you heal from their breakup, discover who they truly are, and find their ideal partner. Visit theheartbreaknurse.com to sign up now and get ready to make your comeback.